Hey everybody, welcome. This is session number 56, BraveMaker Mastermind, and we are in June, last day of June. So July is right around the corner. Film festival is right around the corner. We'll chat about that before we end, just to make sure everyone's clued in. But if you're watching on the replay, hello, hello. We have special guest today, Milan Chakraborty, who I met really with a general meeting on Zoom when some of you who know Ken Whittingham, when I was partnering with Ken on his feature, trying to find some partners, and a friend of a friend knew Milan's partner at Marginal Media, so we jumped on a Zoom, and then you see each other at South by Southwest, you're connected on social media, you're following each other, and I said, Milan, it'd be cool if you could come and jump on a Zoom with us. So, yeah, I'm excited to get to know you a little bit better personally myself, just asking questions. I know you're doing all sorts of things, film, producing and making things happen and teaching and sitting on panels at all these cool film festivals. So, yeah, welcome. Glad you're here.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks for the kind words.
Heck yeah. Well, let's just jump in first with your backstory. How the heck did you get into this? When did it start?
My backstory. Always figure out which way I'm going to tell this. Like most stories, in our industry, there's no ABC or one, two, three. I studied accounting in college. I was a CPA, and uh, within 2 years of graduating, September 11th happened. I lost two close friends, one in each tower, and then 6 to 8 months later, Arthur Anderson, which was the biggest accounting firm in the world, like most prestigious accounting firm. That was my first job. Like me and 27,000 people lost their jobs because of the Enron scandal,
Hmm.
which, there's a great movie, Smartest Guys in the Room. They're not talking about the auditors, but, you know, so everything I thought was stable at like 23 years old had come, tumbling down. And I still, didn't even imagine it'd be film. I do a lot of these panels, and people are like, "Oh, I was 8 years old. I was 10 years old." I was now early 20s. Uh, didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was like, "This is a perfect opportunity to try something new." I wanted to travel, so I got a job with Time Warner Cable, and I for 2 years I traveled to like 18 different divisions around the country, learning about how cable operations work. They were just developing like video on demand and stuff, which obviously was going to become more important in my future. And after 2 years, I knew I didn't want to go in the cable world. Still didn't know what I wanted to do. Still, film wasn't even a dream of mine. As I joke, Indians from Indiana don't get to be film producers. Uh, and but we had a conference out in LA, and I met up with some of my fraternity brothers, college friends, and all of them. Like one was an assistant for Dick Clark, like getting his coffee and picking up his dogs, and one was an assistant for Michael Malley. These are some of the smartest, funniest, like people I know making $400 a week or $450 a week. And remembered my mindset. This is post 9/11. Like, yes, they're making less money than all my friends on the East Coast. I was in DC at the time, but they were happier. And I thought there was something to that. So I asked for a transfer out to the LA office. And I was living in LA. They approved the transfer. I think they were trying to get rid of me as fast as possible. They're like, yeah, you'd be great out there. But, AOL, Time Warner Cable, what just happened?
I just put your Instagram up.
Oh, okay. It's this is impressive. Motion graphics, like great
Well,
production value.
we got to have a little
Uh,
production value here, a little
but
B-roll.
2 weeks later, I was in LA, part of Time Warner's course, Warner Brothers, New Line, HBO. And a week later, I was on my very first film set, which was Batman Begins in London. And then, Superman Returns, Australia, V for Vendetta, Germany, shows like Entourage, One Tree Hill. And I really caught the bug. And after a couple years, I was like, well, the producer's like the business person in the film industry, and maybe I could do that. So they knew I'd be asking a lot of questions uh, as part of my job. What they didn't realize is I was learning my next career. And after 4 or 5 years doing that. On January 31st, 2008, I left Warner Brothers, and 3 months later was producing my first film on Sunset and Gower. And now, I've gone on to produce over 30 features. And 4 years ago, joined as head of film and TV for Marginal Media Works, and partnered with Sanjay Sharma. And I think we've made like 10 films in the last 4 years, when it hasn't exactly been an easy time. Oh, this is funny watching these things pop up. But so yeah, that's kind of the story. It's like over 30 films sounds like a lot, but at 29 I'd made zero.
Hmm.
So I actually taught a class at my alma mater, William and Mary, this semester, and a lot of it was like this conversation. It's like, what would I wish I would have heard at the beginning of my career? And it was a practical guide to a career in entertainment. So it's been a wonderful ride. I still feel like I'm just getting started. I feel like we're learning new distribution, new things. What are people watching? It's evolved so much. When I left Warner Brothers, they gave me as a gift, they gave me my first Netflix subscription, like 3 DVDs, and then you send those back. And that's what it was. That was the industry. So you think like how exponentially fast it's changing every like 5 to 8 years.
Hmm.
It's a state of constant learning and trying to adjust and trying to be, you know, a little bit of a head of the wave instead of behind it. But I guess yeah, that's my story.
Well, it's cool because I got to go before. Let's see, we talked on Zoom. And then I went to LA and I was meeting Sanjay, and then you and I had a Zoom, I think solo or something. We Zoomed together, went to the headquarters in Los, no, Silver Lake or Los Feliz. Where's
So
the
like,
head? Silver Lake, yeah. I got to hang out there and talk with Sanjay a little bit, which was really cool. Then you and I Zoomed separately, and then I remember going, "Yeah, I'm gonna be in LA or something." Like you're like, "I'm not in LA right now," and I thought, "Oh, that's so cool because you're not in LA right now either." But talk about that a little bit because most of us aren't in LA on this call. Sometimes we have LA people that are joining in. Some of us go back and forth to LA and work, but most of us are living. Looking on, making sure. I think all of us, yeah, on the call right now are living in the Bay Area. So, what are your thoughts as things are changing on Hollywood not being in Los Angeles and the reality that you don't have to live in LA?
yeah, this was a decision I made. I moved November 2019, so I had
Wow,
no
you were ahead of the curve then.
yeah, I had
Dang.
no anticipation of a. I was like, oh, I travel all the time. My mom's here in Chattanooga. My sister, brother-in-law, and nephews are 2 hours away in Atlanta. And I just felt like after 15 years, I'd put in the groundwork. Uh, I'd put in the groundwork in LA. And on top of that, when I started at Marginal, there were there were two things that were critical for me to accept. One, I wasn't moving back to LA. Uh, and that kind of shocked Sanjay at first. It's like your number one draft pick saying I'm only flying in for the games. But the reason he offered me the job is every time we caught up over the pandemic, I had recently finished another film. I did 5 films during lockdown without leaving Chattanooga, and
Hmm.
so I wasn't going to stop. And it was still February 2021. And number two was I told him I go to a lot of film festivals, and I
Hmm.
was like, not just the big ones, Sundance, South by, Tribeca. I've gone to Cannes 5 times and Berlinale 3 times, but I also go to smaller fests. I go to festival or Heartland Film Festival in Indianapolis, uh, and a bunch of regional fests. And I told him, if your truly company is called Marginal Media Works, guess what? A lot of these
Hmm.
top festivals are very exclusive. They're very expensive. And so we need to be out there. And we've subsequently found films and filmmakers because of that. So
Hmm.
if you're going to do I'm not going to live in LA or New York, I think festivals and regional festivals, especially, uh, become critical to kind of. I think it takes people like all right, I've seen this person like 3 times. I should maybe learn their name. I should probably start paying attention. There's so many people that come and go. My first ever film festival, we met up at South by was South by 2008, a month after I left Warner Brothers. And then my second festival was Sundance 2009. Now I've been to 15 Sundances and a bunch of South bys as well. But after a while, it's like, those names and faces, it's like, oh, this
Yeah.
person's serious about the industry. So, do I think you need to live in LA or New York? No. But if you're not, you still need to find your ground game, whether that's festivals, whether that's time in LA. In the end, as we see, all the movies that you see out in theaters are the ones that got made. Are they all the best scripts? Let's not kid ourselves. How did they get made? Most of it, it's people that know each other and like each other.
Yeah.
And that becomes the critical component. Hopefully it's
Yeah.
also good, like that should always be the goal, but it is a relationship business.
Yeah.
But there's, I think, also peace of mind. I For me personally, I felt like LA was becoming too transaction. Everywhere I went, people were talking about the industry. And as I said earlier, I grew up in small town Indiana. I was an accountant in DC. As much as I love our business, I felt like I needed to somewhat remove myself, uh, so like the film festival could occasionally end, and I could focus
Yeah.
on the work.
Yeah.
And the film festival is work as well, for sure. But uh, for me, it worked, and now I find myself, oh, I can't wait to get back to Chattanooga. Uh, so you can be anywhere, the whole, and since COVID, everybody got used to Zoom. Even when I go to LA, I'm like, oh wait, you're on the west side. Let's just do a Zoom.
Right. Exactly. Even in LA, people are zooming,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. Yeah.
because
For
it's
sure.
like 3 hours for a 1 hour meeting isn't
That's
just a,
right.
it's but what I'll occasionally do is throw a big birthday party, get a bunch of people to come to me.
Yeah. Well, everybody in the chat, I have put Marginal Media's Instagram as well as Milan's, which is Hollywood Hindu, which I always think is super cool. Make sure you follow along. And going on relationship, this is really, we talk about this a lot. Everybody on this call, you're all good at this. But I got connected to Milan in all these kind of simple ways. It was I made a short film called Sweet Santa Barbara Brown. One of our investors, who is a friend of Solomon Hughes, who was an actor on Winning Time, who now we're good friends, Solomon said, "Oh, you need to meet my friend who's in San Francisco, who's invested in this film." I met and had lunch with him. He's like, "Oh, you need to meet my other friend who's a filmmaker in LA named Sanjay, who runs this thing called Marginal Media." Then Sanjay and I met. Then here we are with Milan. Then I'm hanging out with Milan in South by Southwest. Then we're here. So it really is like a lot of that. And that's all in probably a year-ish time where this happens. So, and we do these things intentionally too, for our support group here is my hope is all of us are connecting when we start doing our question and response time with Milan. You're asking questions and we're getting to know Milan. Milan's getting to know you, and you just don't know when you'll see Milan next. And Milan, here's your invitation to come to BraveMaker Film Fest in 2026 in July. So put that on your calendar. Let's make that happen.
Yeah.
Well, go ahead. You want to say something?
Yeah, I think the kind of chain of events is a great lesson. Like, I think too often people hope that first meeting is the meeting, and they turn it transactional. What am
Right.
I going to get out of this? And I think the key to this whole game is trying to add value to other people's worlds and lives. And they, the reality is most people don't want to be in the film industry and never will. But that doesn't mean they don't know one person, or 5 years from now, if they've seen you put in the good work, a friend of theirs is like, hey, I'm looking for someone in the film industry. And a lot of my incoming is playing the long game. And
Hmm.
rarely am I out there pitching anything until I know what people are about and what they're looking for. And I think a lot of people are, and I get it, because it's an sometimes it seems like an act of desperation. I want to make this one thing now. Uh, but the if you want to be in the industry, like I think, and not just get your thing done, I think it's a it's more about giving than it is about taking. It's
Yeah.
like you give long enough, then people start rooting for your success too. And it's very easy to tell the people in the room that are just takers. They're the first one. They'll talk to the most people that night, and good for them. Uh, that's just not my style, and I think this industry has a lot of different styles. You got to do what you're comfortable with.
That's a mic drop moment. That's a good gem, about giving more than taking and about rooting other people's success on, because then people want to see that happen for you. I totally 100% agree with that. Thank you for reminding us of that. I want to watch the trailer to She Taught Love. That's how I initially got all connected to you all. You all were just about launching this on Hulu, and I was kind of watching all the premieres happening on social media and talking to Sanjay about it. And if you all have not heard, it's on Hulu. We'll watch the trailer right now. We can talk about the making of this. Here we go. Ooh, can you hear it? No, I don't hear it. Hold on. Stand by. While I problem solve that, Milan, why don't you give us some of the log line and info on She Taught Love and what this film is about?
She Taught Love is just a love story. The writer who's also the lead actor that you'll see up front. He wrote the script of the kind of films he wasn't seeing.
Mm,
Uh, you know, Black love stories, and especially centering Black women. And after the trailer, we can talk a little bit more about uh, the journey. But those movies like Love and Basketball, and it's just like we used to see tons of them. Well, not tons, but more. And
hmm.
then for some reason they just stopped. Poetic justice.
All right, here we go. We should be good
There
now.
she is, my favorite runner in the world. I haven't seen you in a minute. I was beginning to think you forgot about me. Swing and a miss.
What are you up to tomorrow?
What?
Did I stutter? What are you doing tomorrow?
When I was little, I wanted to be an astrophysicist.
I don't even know what that is.
It's the study of the universe. I mean, look at it. No one can convince me that what happens here is the beginning and end of everything.
We missed your energy in the office, girl.
I miss being here too, but got to take some time for myself.
You good?
Sorry to be such an inconvenience.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm thinking about you nonstop. I'm crazy about you.
I like this one, Mom.
Oh, this one.
Oh, you were the last option for sure. Every day you ask me what I need, and what do I tell you?
You don't need anything.
Exactly.
But for once, you're wrong. You should probably stop being nice to me if you want me to leave you alone.
What if I don't know how to be nice?
Well, then I might have to marry you.
Don't push it, Frank Cooper.
All right, that's She Taught Love on Hulu. Let's talk about this. So it's a Hulu original, but it didn't start as a Hulu original, if I understand that correctly, right?
It's a great example of like perseverance. That lead actor is the writer, and he wanted to create something for him and for his mom, and he wanted to be a lead actor. He's been in Judas and the Black Messiah, 3 Billboards. He's been in a bunch of things, and I want to say till from the day he wrote it to the day we got on set was 7.5 years,
Wow.
because who's going to fund it, and what's it worth? Who's the person of value? All those things that you hear. So it's just like, when I see that trailer, it cuts me up because we did things by the book on that film, but so many of those shots that made the trailer were stolen shots because Film LA made things impossible. And it's just like things change, or now it rains in LA. It didn't used to, and you can't. It's unpredictable, and but it really is a testament to perseverance, and you find that right exec at the right time that believes what you're doing, and that company we're working with, Anscape, which is owned by ESPN, they believed in the project, and they didn't make us say, hey, you have to have X famous person in it. These are the stories we want to tell. And it got made, and it kind of went, because we already had distribution. We didn't really have like a festival run, but it won best independent film from the African American Film Critics Association, and was nominated for NAACP Image Award. And some of these pictures from the premiere was at the Academy Museum, and it was just an amazing thing to see, and to for this group of people to take up space in something like the Academy Museum, when traditional executives would say you can't make this film, because it doesn't have value, according to their algorithm. But we see how it affects people. We see how people react to it when they see it. And it's like, and especially as independent filmmakers, I don't know what everybody's background is, but as independent producers, like, I am a finance and accounting person. I am a numbers person, but I decided a long time ago I didn't want to make films just by the algorithm, because then there's better ways to make money, if I just wanted to go by the numbers. And I remember this was one of the first scripts I read that Sanjay sent me before I started at Marginal, and I was like, if this is what you told me your company's about, this should be one of your first projects. And we're still really proud of it. Wasn't easy journey, but the fact that it got meaningful distribution with Hulu, a black-led movie, first time black director that came out of the music video scene. I love that song, There Must Be a God, by India Shawn. She hadn't even released that song yet. Just immensely talented musician in front of and behind the camera. I remember one day 6 different unions came to set, and they were like, we haven't seen a set like this, because we started shooting that January 9th of last year. So right after New Year's, right after the strikes, right after COVID, we were one of the first films. So all the unions were curious, like, who are these people? And they all went away and left us alone.
Well, my last question before we open it up is, let's talk a little numbers, because all of us on this call are indie makers of all shapes, sizes, and spaces. And the numbers, talking about how do we actually make money is something we're all trying to figure out, and it keeps changing and it's different for everybody. This is talk at whatever level you feel comfortable. How do you make money as a producer? And you've obviously been through it. You've got all these films under your belt, but I just produced, and I'm still producing my second feature film, and have yet to really make a ton, or let alone, I'm going to say, be honest, transparent, like any good money producing films yet. So all the money comes in other ways. I'm doing corporate stuff, or I work, multiple other jobs, as do many of us on this call. But talk about money and making money as a producer.
Yeah, I mean, I think you kind of nailed it. Early on, you have to do all kinds of things. I house sat for 3 years because I was like, how much time do you have to work to pay rent? Mm-hmm. Therefore, if I don't have to pay rent, I don't have to spend. I can focus on producing, and that's 3 years in my 30s after making 6 figures in my 20s, and courtesy of Warner Brothers, traveling around first class and getting per diem. Like that's a sacrifice, and I openly share those stories because the secret sauce of a lot of people is somebody else is backing them. And if you're just competing on a basis, you're just going to have to work that much harder because they're not working to pay rent. And I don't blame anyone that starts at third base. Like we need all kinds of people in the industry. I think when people don't acknowledge that privilege, sometimes I struggle with it a little bit. It's like you made 2 short films and you're at Cannes and Berlin. Like, how do you, it's like no one talks about that stuff. And then eventually I started valuing myself. I realized a lot of times when people are early in their career, they make the film, then they start thinking about film festivals and distribution. If you do it that way, you're way too late. A lot of it, you'll hear this phrase a lot. It's reverse engineering to a marketplace, reverse engineering to an audience, and asking those questions really early on. And my 4th film was The Lifeguard with Kristen Bell, and it got into Sundance. And I remember jumping up and down for me, because a piece of advice that one of my fraternity brothers gave me, that's in the music industry still. He's a super successful music supervisor. He's like, give yourself 7 to 10 years to feel like you're heading in the right direction, not 7 to 10 years to make it feel like you're heading in the right direction. And I was already 29. So 7 to 10 years, that was going to be 40 at the end of that. So of course I had ego, and I was like, it's not going to take me that long. Then 4 years in, my 4th film gets into Sundance. And I know in my head, I was like, I crushed that statistic just like I thought it would. But then I learned, just because you get in Sundance doesn't mean you sell for millions of dollars. For a lot of people, it's this Sundance or bust. Sundance will change your life, change your world. And that was eye-opening to me. And I kind of went back to the drawing board after that and said, I know how to make a movie now, but I don't understand the business. And then I went on a string of movies. And before I started at Marginal, 6 of my last 10 films sold for MGs for higher than the budgets. And my 10th film, my 10th year, was Assassination Nation, which sold for over 10 million, the biggest sale at Sundance 2018. And so, like I said, while I wasn't doing anything for the algorithm, I did have a better understanding of what festivals were looking for and what distributors are looking for. At first, especially when I started at Marginal, I got really frustrated with creative execs. I was like, they're not that creative and they don't know how to execute. So I don't know how they got this name. And I was really mad about it. And at first, and then I realized, they're also very talented people and they know story. But at the end of the day, a lot of them, and especially right now, they're just a human being in the industry that's trying not to lose their job. So if I want to play in their sandbox, instead of being mad about it, like, let me make it easier for them to say yes. And it's like, I'm not precious about that, because my goal as a producer is producing, is actually getting stuff done. And I really think there's probably a million, but there's 3 real ways producers differentiate themselves. I think one, can you be trusted? Like, when you say something, do you do it? Like, that's such a low bar, but in our industry, it's absolutely fascinating. And you're just like, oh, wow, this person follows up. Like, the bar is low to just be
for real. Seriously, just be. Yeah.
So can you trust this person? Do you trust their word? Number 2 is kind of, do they actually execute? You talk to them a year later, 3 years later, are they getting stuff done? It's easy to talk about it. The number 3, I think, is as a producer, it's your taste. It's kind of like going to see a comedian. Once you go to the room, you're preparing yourself to laugh, so you're more likely to laugh. So when people feel like you have good taste, and you need to, I get a lot of filmmakers projects that I'm an executive producer on. They're like, send this to your friend at Sundance, send this to your friend at Tribeca, send this to your friend at South by. And I'm like, nope, it's not good enough. And that's films I'm associated with. Because if those programmers thought I was like charging for access to them, I'm out. Like it has to hit a certain standard. That's what I try to protect as a producer. If I say something's good, they're going to at least give it a shot. And if you give it a shot with the mindset that I think I'm going to like this, you're more likely to like it. So, it's not, as we know, it's not a true meritocracy, but it definitely helps. Once I got that first film into Sundance in 2013, and remember that's the same year as Ryan Coogler's Fruitvale Station. There was a short called Whiplash. That's only 12 years ago. Uh, I realized, like, those had come through the Sundance labs. Like, it's like, oh, these people already know each other, and I don't know anyone. So I spent a decade of my life getting to know those people better. So when you're early on, I think so many people hear those stories of the people that were just discovered from Sundance and rise to the top. But the kind of middle class, working middle class of the industry, that we put in your time, have someone on your team that knows that system, and that creates a more viable system for them. Yeah. So I learned how to value myself. Like, yeah, you want advice? Like, you have to pay me for it. And if they're like, no, I don't want to pay you. Cool. That made our conversation a lot shorter.
That's right. We're done. Yep. Yep. No, that's so good. Just to reiterate, so we'll open up for questions now, everybody, but just reiterating the bar, like the entry point is so low. If you can just be a person who does what they say they're going to do, if you're responsive and don't, people often say fake it till you make it. And I think sometimes people think fake it till you make it means lying about what you're capable of or what you can do. And that is sussed out pretty quickly, especially. And I have a couple, stories where I just have had people say they're going to make a movie for years upon years and I still haven't seen them do it. I'm like, why? Just make something, get it out there. And that is a value add to me. I want to work with people who are getting stuff done, like you said. And again, the bar is low. It doesn't have to be it has to be amazing. Don't be so precious about it. Just make stuff. And the building relationship thing is so huge too. Yeah, I really think you're spot on. Okay, Gwyn, we'll bring you up, everybody, and just introduce yourself and then ask your question. You know how it goes.
Hi, Milan. Thank you so much for coming. I'm Gwyn. I'm a writer director. I just made my first short this last year. And you caught my attention when you said you learned more about what film festivals and distributors want. And I know sometimes that's hard to quantify, but I'd love to hear what you think film festivals and distributors want.
Every film festival kind of has its own personality, right? Like, including certain programmers. You look at Tribeca this year, and there were like 18 to 20 music films and docs. Like, and I asked for the programmers, like, what's going on? It's like, oh, because South by is known as the music festival. So it's like, oh, well, a lot of people now, musicians are making their money through those summer concert tours. So Tribeca, they just switched from April to June a few years ago, has become this launching pad for their summer concerts. So, first and foremost, all of them will say we want something good, right? But you see the films that come through, like their programs or their labs, have a significantly better chance. So they also want to sell tickets. Like, programmers call me and I'm like, because I have the relationships, I can say stuff that's not on any of the submission. Hey, there's a huge Vietnamese population in New Orleans. This is the 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War. There's a huge Indian population in New York, and it just I think I have a track record. Did it again this year. The rows at Tribeca, we sold out all our tickets so fast they added an extra screening. So they're trying to get people they want to show good stuff. They're trying to get people there. So what is going to get there? If you're making a short, They're programming a short block like a feature. It's an hour and a half, right? So they don't want anything that's 20 minutes because it's an imbalance. The 3 minute thing next to it will make your 20-minute thing feel like it's an hour and a half. So you have a much better. I had never made a short. This was I had a feature doc and a doc short at Tribeca. This is my first short. Both of the programmers, after we got in, noted that thanks for concisely telling the story. It was 13 minutes, and I don't think we would have gotten in if we went with the 20-minute version. It was a week before the deadline. So if on a shorts block, and every year there's different themes, right? Like the year Trump first got elected, Sundance didn't want a super depressing time on the mountain, so they programmed some more cheery stuff. So the zeitgeist shifts and changes. So what they want, is this going to drive value to our audiences, and good stuff. They love promoting from within, but that's why having people on the team that can talk about something else that might not be first visible on screen, or just the story or just the submission through Film Freeway, to give it a little boost beyond the movie. That kind of politicking of it's a lobbying effort, but other people are playing that game. All the major agencies are playing that game. So it's like if you're just one of 6,000 or 10,000 submissions, it's hard to stand out, because what if the wrong person that didn't vibe with it was that first level of screener? So there's never going to be an ABC or 1, 2, 3, but understand that it is a strategic thing. So I tell people, look at what films you think are similar, that have been made before. And I know everybody's like, no one's made a film like this. And it's amazing to me when someone says that. And I'm like, I literally made a film like that. And it's like, it just means you haven't watched that much, but fine. You can usually track what festivals those films played. So strategic, don't waste your money on 100 film festivals that you're not going to go to. I focus on film festivals that you can try to attend, and which film festivals are worth the money. Look who shows up in the previous years. That's a great, because whether it's a short or a feature, no one's like, oh, you made a short, you don't have equal value at this film. You're a filmmaker at that film festival, and treated as such, as you should be. And it's a great opportunity to get to know people a little bit better that are your future collaborators.
Any follow-ups, Gwen?
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And there are other questions, so if we don't have time, I totally get it. But if you want to speak to distributors too, or maybe that's in someone else's question. But thank you so much.
All right. Talking about film festival stuff, ours as it comes up in just 10-ish days. I think, Milan's hitting it on the head, which is, doing your research. Where does your film best fit? I have said this many times. I love Sundance. I was there during Assassination Nation. Remember all of the buzz when it was selling, which was super, super cool. And I want to get into Sundance someday, but a lot of the films I have made don't fit, So I have to be thinking, if I want to get to Sundance, then I got to make a quote unquote Sundance film. So it's really important to kind of figure out what that is for you as a filmmaker. Let's go to Jacob. Hi, Jacob.
One thing I will say on this Sundance thing, and I love Sundance. It's one of my favorite festivals, but don't think everything's going to be like Steven Soderbergh's Sex, Lies, and Videotapes. I've had 3 films at Sundance. 2 of my 3 films at Sundance are, on an ROI basis, my least successful films. So a film starring one of the first films starring a person with Down syndrome to have a national release, a movie called Where Hope Grows. That one did 1.2 million in the box office. It premiered at the Dallas Film Festival, won the audience award at Heartland. So it's like, there's a beautiful thing about Sundance and the Sundance audience, but the audience I'm trying to find is I think one of my uh uh advantages is I'm more like this. Will anyone that I grew up with in Indiana care? Because they're the ones that are going to drive it. So like that's another thing that Sundance or bust. Sundance is a great thing and it might do great things for your career, but if the focus in how am I going to get the investor their money back is who's the audience and
Yeah.
how do you find that audience? And self distribution nowadays should be plan 8.5. Like
Amen. Amen.
it should not be plan C, plan D.
Yeah.
We'll get more. I'm sure we'll get more into distribution, but it's just so wildly unpredictable. If a lot, remember I said 6 of my 10 films sold prior to starting on Marshall sold for MGs higher than their budget. A lot of them it's because not because they all sold for 10 million. It's we made it for 400, sold for 600, made it for 600, sold for 800, made it for 200, sold for 265.
Mm-hmm.
We found the right budget for the audience, and and that's okay. That's a great victory. That you don't need the Sundance laurel to say
100%.
you get to make another film. That Sundance laurel only goes to so many people, and I can promise you those people that Sundance that had that film at Sundance and haven't found a deal, almost like would rather take the deal. Here's how hard it is. There's an article that came out like 2 months ago. Ron Howard's new film called Eden, starring Jude Law and Sydney Sweeney, that premiered at TIFF last September, just sold 2 months ago to Vertical. I sell my movies to Vertical. I love Vertical, but that's Ron Howard, Jude Law, and Sydney Sweeney at TIFF. So if they haven't figured it out, like understand that you're not a failure if you don't figure it out on your one film. That one probably a lot of money was spent, so they need it to do a lot bigger. But if you have a story you want to tell to a specific audience, go find that audience.
Beautiful. Jacob.
Hey Milan, thank you so much for being here. It's been super cool hearing your story, your tenacity, your drive, the fact that you committed and pushed forward so far into your career it's so cool. So much of what you've said I've related to and I've heard time and time again in my own career. Um, well, I like how many days I have to work just to pay rent this month. I thought that the entire time I was in LA. Um, how do you find that work-life balance? That's been like one of my biggest things is balancing family, relationship, work, other work, this work, all that. How do I do that?
This is probably where my answer is the worst. Like I absolutely am awful at it. I'm 46, single. Like I I went to Puerto Rico 2 weeks ago. It was supposedly my first vacation in 16 years. I worked half of it. At night I would go grab like a old fashioned at the back of this hotel looking at the water and basically took like 2 hours off like each day. And that was my vacation. And look, no one's going to say I haven't had a good time. Tony's seen me in action at a few festivals. Like I love what I do. The pendulum's got to shift. Like that toxic busyness is a bad thing too. So I love what I do, and I've dedicated myself. I know switching careers, 10 years in, I realized I felt like I was a whole step behind, and I didn't go to, film school. So finding that time, for me, after our dad passed 12 years ago, I realized I needed to find more time for, my mom and my sisters and now, nephews. And it's like, I'm happy now I get to spend more time with them in my 40s than I did in my 20s and 30s combined. So you got to do what, you need to do. I don't think I'm a good example of finding that, I love the college I went to, I did teach a class this semester. I'm on I got elected to the Alumni Association board of directors last year. Finding ways to kind of give back. I'm going to run a producer's lab later this summer, which is ironic because I've been rejected to every lab I've ever applied to. So I don't have a good answer for it. If you find out, please let me know. It is kind of the difference, right? If I wanted, and I do have health insurance now through, the job, like as head of film and marginal, but for 13 years it was off and on. All right, maybe I'll get it, maybe I won't. That's that trade-off. You want that comfort, but it's like I don't work Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, like clock in, clock out. It's like if there's work to be done, I'll do it. And I think also enjoying other people's work is a good hobby, even though it is still kind of work, because it allows me to support others, and it's like, and be inspired by others. Going to festivals, yes, it's still work, but it inspires me because when it's not my turn, I get to see all these other people's work that have worked so hard in their corners of, the universe and brought them to, Random Town, USA. So I don't have a great answer for that. I wish I did. I am gonna still try to figure out an actual like week of vacation. Probably not until much later this year, but I do think it's important. I'm just not good at it.
Thank
you. I
you.
appreciate that.
Thanks for the honesty. It's all a learning curve. All of us needing to find it, make it in our schedule, and put it in there sometimes. It's so hard. Olga, hello.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Milan. My name is Olga, and I'm a producer of a feature film called Boundaries about a group of South Asian women who come together, form a cricket team, and extend their boundaries not only on the pitch, but also in their personal lives. And the film is already done. We shot in March and April of this year. It's a full 2 hour feature film. And of course, we're now working on post-production, looking into distribution and sales and agents. And what you said about festivals really landed with me because not all of them are going to have the same relevance to a specific project, a specific film. And we are aware of Tasweer. We know the markets, we know certain festivals that we need to really attend and talk about the project. But do you have any recommendations specifically for South Asian-centered films and projects in LA or in the world, for that matter, where it would be really good connection, same as in Tasweer? Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's great that you know about Tasveer. Like that's actually whose lab I'm running. So I'll be there in October. But that's a great one, and they're actually finding grants. There's IFLA in LA, which IFLA in the last few years has been doing a lot better about diaspora programming. For a long time, they used to only bring big Bollywood stars and not really like promote within. There's Mumbai Film Festival and Goa Film Festival, which are two top ones, and then TIFF. Toronto isn't a South Asian festival by any means, but it's got one of the largest South Asian populations. And our movie Four Samosas, I feel like one of the final things that I got, when I got a call from Kara Cosumano, who's the head of programming, she called me like January 10th of that year. She was like, "What's your deal with Four Samosas?" I was like, "Oh, we're talking to a couple festivals." You always bluff that. And she's like, don't make, you're not in yet, but don't make a decision yet. And then I was like, hey, just want to let you know. And, we also came through. Four Samosas sold out so fast. And, that's a movie about, I joke, it's about Indians that would never win the spelling bee, and they deserve movies too. And so, with 2 hours, hopefully it's super entertaining, because that's usually a long runtime for nowadays. But yeah, that's that specific audience. But obviously there's the diasporas, everywhere. So hope that. But the fact that you know Tasveer sounds like you've already done it. But and then obviously there's the Asian American film festivals. I think in is it San Francisco that has CAM.
Yes.
So those are also. It's this weird dynamic. Like we're South Asian. Do we count? And sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. And it seems like they focus a lot on like Korean and Japanese, but we belong there too.
Yes, we went to camp. We will explore this other festive for sure because Punjabi, I know I have friends in Toronto who are actually saying that that's where you should go anyway. Thank you so much. That's super helpful. I took notes and we'll follow up. Thanks, Milan.
Thank you so much. We'll bring in Kelly, and then our final will be Gabriele for time. Hi, Kelly.
Hi, thank you so much, Milan. This has been really good and inspiring too. Starting, okay, I have to say 29 is not later in life to start this career, by the way. Started much later than that. But we're shooting a feature film in October in Cincinnati, by the way, Midwest. And we're just trying to see where we should land the budget to make sure we recoup for all our investors. So it's a sweet romantic, and I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on where we should target. It's a sweet romantic comedy. It has Zach Gottsagen from the Peanut Butter Falcon as one of our leads, and we have some other leads potentially attached, not confirmed, but Katie Cassidy is one of them, David Cassidy's daughter.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm just kind of curious. It's a dog rescue, romantic comedy, more like festival-ish than Hallmark-ish kind of feel for it. So any suggestions on how much?
It's a tough question, but it's a good question, and I'll give you a standard answer, and it's scalable. Love Zach. I was gave the Peanut Butter Falcon guys a bunch of advice because we preceded them, and they luckily took the advice and had a huge success. And
one of the producers, sorry, Dave Thies is our director too. So
okay, yeah, I've met him, tall guy, right?
Yep, very.
Yeah. But so that, the answer I tell people is 750,000, and it's not a random number. 750,000 is the tier. It takes you up a tier at SAG. 750,000 keeps you under most of the scrutiny of the other unions. I'm very pro union. I love unions. Don't get me wrong, but when you make something 1 to 2 million, well, then all the unions want their cuts, rightfully so. So you're not really making significantly better film. You're just spending more on pension and health and meal penalties and such. That's a great start to a cast. With Zach, you could tap into, our Where Hope Grows ended up with over 500,000 Facebook fans because of, we got national endorsements from National Down Syndrome Society, Best Buddies, and Special Olympics, and World Down Syndrome Congress, and and they were able to support the film, buy out opening weekends because there was so little content. There still isn't enough. And, you did say something that I want people to caution people. Hallmarky is a great thing too. Yeah. It's a great Hallmark and Lifetime's a great business plan, so it's okay. I get what you're trying to say and know, I love Tubi, but 750,000 gives you the best chance. You take a little bit of a tax credit. 1 to 2 is such of a dead zone because now you're all union. The other answer would be 3 million or 5 million, but now you need big stars.
Yeah.
And that'll get you back to your potential for profitability. So you either got to crash it down low,
right,
or you go much higher. That 1 to 2, 1 to 2.5 is such. There isn't a marketplace that can really support it because you can't afford the actors that will make up what you're spending that's not going on the screen. But sounds like you're actually I gave a talk at Cincinnati for Women in Film Cincinnati, and one of the women I said something and she was like, I dated Dave Thies.
Oh,
Uh,
that's Kristen. She filmed Cincinnati.
yeah, and Amy Majerski, we talked to
Yeah.
her.
So
See,
Amy is actually helping us raise some financing.
she's great. See,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's a small world. I did, my friend Dahmer outside of Cleveland, I helped Kentucky write their tax credit in 2014. Just actually 3 weeks ago, the mayor's office flew me to Kentucky to talk about the importance of, I'm a big fan of Cincinnati and uh, the people there and the crew there and the support there. But yeah, if you know uh Plus One is a movie people watch and they're like, you spent 5 million or 10 million, and it was like right around a million, and that's the reason we're able to say it's profitable.
Right,
And
right.
we had 14 weddings in that, but a lot of that, and this is a huge testament to the producers, I was just an EP on it, the directors, like every corner of a building was a new wedding.
Oh
And we
yeah.
spent a bunch of money on one set to look like Hawaii to give it production value. So think outside the box. Every time, in your script where they change locations, you're packing a truck. So you're not filming. So do yourself a favor on the script. You can't just cut and paste a $750,000 budget. You have to write to a $750,000 budget. So like big asterisk on that piece of advice. Like, can the script, be done in that way, be done in about 20 days or less? And if it can't, you have to ask yourself, how critical is everything that's in the current script? But
Yeah.
if your question was what
Recoup,
on
yeah.
an ROI basis and recruitment, like, on our movie Black Barbie, which was my first doc, and Netflix picked it up. Like, I told the investor who fully financed it, I think it's worth about $1 million. And I think everything we made over $1 million, I'll attribute to the big Barbie movie that we couldn't have predicted when we were making the movie. But so make it for less, and then you have a chance at making a profit. Can you use your tax credit as an ROI and not part of the financing structure? So
Right. That's why
investors get their money back in there's a psychological response.
Yeah.
I actually got some money back. As a producer, very quickly, I know all your business plans include a bunch of comps. After one or two, people start asking you how your films did, and a comp won't matter. So protecting your reputation, tell people all the time, just because you can raise money doesn't mean you should. And protecting that, because going back to what I said at the very beginning, is I'm always trying to play the long game. I'm trying to do this for a long time and not take a shortcut. If somebody you need 5 million, I can get you that. It's like, no, it would be irresponsible to take over one. And there's not a lot of people that would hold that discipline, because these would be higher, but that's not. If you do right by that person's going to do it again, and then they're going to tell their friends.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping for, to do this one, recoup everybody. And we do have the Ohio tax credit approval already and all that. So thank you so much.
Good. I love all the little connections. Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I know. It's so funny.
Thanks, Kelly. And Dave is coming because of Kelly to BraveMaker Film Festival next week. All right, last question. I know we're running out of time. Gabriella, you're up.
Hi, my name is Gabrieli. I've been a part of BraveMaker for the last year or so. I'm an actor and getting more exposure, like for indie sets, film festivals, currently red carpet hosting. And so I just want to learn more screenwriting and filmmaking, directing, producing. So currently I've been like having like little pockets of exposures in that. But for someone who's relatively new to the filmmaking world, I wanted to know your thoughts on getting a higher education to go into film for someone who likes that college structure. So background on me, I got my bachelor's in like communication studies, just learning about people. And I love how filmmaking is communicating, stories and getting a glimpse of people's world. And I got my master's in that too, and a minor in theater arts. And so I'm just wondering, yeah, what are your thoughts on going back to school plus possibly for like filmmaking? rather than
Well, it sounds like you're already super educated. Like if you didn't have all those things, I'd say, oh, I'm not gonna, sometimes like I'll joke, the NYU USC people because it's like I've made more, I was an accounting major at William Mary, a CPA, and have made over 30 films. So it's like that, but I think there's something beautiful about film schools too, a focus on it, the craft, the learning of other things. So uh the answer isn't necessary. It's all some it comes back to budgetary. Like, you know, is the money spent towards that more than what you could make on your own? You make a short film, Sounds like you got the minor and in communication. Like there is something amazing about focusing on it and finding other, potential collaborators, and it's a great networking exercise, but you can do a lot of that outside of it. So I'm not going to say it's not worth it, but I'm also not going to say you have to do it. So that it's always tailored to your own journey. If you feel like you need to kind of recenter, refocus for yourself, then go do it. But you mentioned your accolades, already working red carpets, like using that as opportunities of, you know, finding opportunities to meet people outside of that, doing general meetings when you remember you're not on general meetings, you're not supposed to make an ask, but over the course, letting people know what your ambitions are. And if you've played the game right, people are all right, how can I open a door? And it's like, but the amount of people that reach out to me and it's like, hey, can you get me a job? And it's like, I don't even know what you do, and it's like the people that lead with value they can add to other people, or they've tried to add value in whatever way. It's like, yeah, I'm happy to at least, I try to be the producer I wish existed 10 or 15 years ago when I would do panels and people afterwards I'd go introduce myself and people would tell me why I shouldn't have quit my day job. It's tons of haters out there. The key for me, which is understanding that it was going to be a long cycle. And it's like, the thing I wrote up on the board on my first day teaching class this year was like process over results. You got to love the process. Mm-hmm. Like the results will come or they won't come, but you got to be happy with what you're doing. There's that old quote, if you can imagine doing something else, do that, because it hasn't gotten any easier. And that's okay, because I honestly, I know I could go do something to make more money tomorrow, but I love what I do. And if I get to just keep making stuff and helping, most of my films have been first and second time filmmakers, that's fulfilling enough for me. Yes, I don't have the house in the Hamptons or the house, period. Like, I don't even know. Like those, like a lot of my friends have these things, but it's, they have kids graduating the college we went to, but I'm super happy for them, and I hope there's reciprocity there, because I'm happy with what I'm doing, and it's just, my kind of motto is the next 4 years are the best 4 years.
Nice. Well, thank you. As a fellow 28-year-old, going 29 next year, so.
Yeah. Well, I'm 46 now, so.
and I'm 50, and I'm telling you, you're doing great stuff. So Gabriele, you're giving people value by what you're doing on the red carpet and just your general joy you're spreading. And keep that in mind. It's the long game. It's a long relationship building thing that we're doing here, and people want to feel like they're being not taken advantage of or used or asked of things before they have a relationship. And I can say, as somebody who doesn't even have as much. Well, I don't know, that's being negative, but I've met so many people that I just meet, and I am who I am at my level. I'm not making $1 million things. I'm doing things, and I think they're valuable. But people who want something of me, like they want me to pay them immediately. Like I have even like high school students. Sometimes I'm like, "Yo, high school student, you can't be asking to get paid when I don't even know who you are, and you're 16. Not that you don't deserve to be paid, but it's like." build a relationship, get involved, volunteer, intern. Like I got people who are knocking on my door who have like master's degrees and stuff who want to be paid too. And it's so mind-boggling that we start with these things that immediately I think can ruin a potential relationship when it's not being like be human to each other first, not just products and commodity. Well, this was so good. Thank you so much. I know your time is valuable, and I'm really stoked that we got to connect and hang out. And what's the best way for people to follow up? You want people to follow you on social media, if they want to hire you or consult or anything like that. Kelly's also asking best way to get general meetings. I mean, I don't know if you want to answer anything on add on top of that in a remaining
That's
minute
why,
here.
yeah, definitely Instagram. Twitter used to be a great place. I found Black Barbie on Twitter, and got her film fully financed, and never met her until the world premiere at South by in real life. Like, it's a great place to. Hey, I just saw this movie, and we all love going on and seeing if anybody's writing about our movies. It's a great way to engage. But best way to get kind of general meetings, like do a little bit of research on the person and hey, I really appreciated this thing you did. Like when people write me, I want to get into the industry, I want to hear your story. Well, my story's all over the place, it's like, oh, another one of those. Like I'd rather do that on a bigger venue, but when it's specific and ask for a little bit of time. Can I get 15 minutes of your time? Can I get 20 minutes of your time? If it goes well, and usually it will, it'll go an hour. But the fact that you only asked for a little, they're more likely to say yes. Or,
Good.
the amount of people that don't follow up, it's like, cool, what's your availability? Or they'll say, what's your availability? I'll say this time. They'll be like, I'm not available that time. Well, don't make it hard. Like, I will make it work, But yeah, just usually it's just doing a little bit of research on the person and that connectivity. Like if you can get a soft, a warm intro, like it's not hard to find that how people are connected, and they're just a little bit more likely to like. What school did you go to? Who were the notable alumni? And what town are you from? What's your project about? What did you like about their project? And those kind of things. And people, or going to film festivals and playing the ground game.
So good, dude. I really appreciate that reminder of time. I think that is such a cool thing when people say, hey, could I get 15 minutes of your time? And then they're mindful of it too. They'll say, okay, no, we have 5 more minutes. And that's what I want to do with you over overtime. But just being able to say, like, hey, I'm mindful of you, invaluable, and I don't want to take up too much time. And if they want more time, they'll give it to you. Great, great practical tip. All right. Well, that's all we have today. Milan, seriously, I would love to have you come to the film festival. This is your invitation for 2026. Let's stay in touch. And I would love to have you. Good luck in all the things that you're doing this summer. And thanks for your time. Great to connect.
Appreciate it. Take care.
All
Good
right,
luck.
see you, Milan. Everybody else, please stay on for a minute if you have any time. I would say we are coming up on the festival. If you have any questions about it, please let me know. Right now, if you're confused on anything or want to clarify anything, this week we are doing our parade. So on the 3rd, July 3rd, 4 p.m., we're decorating our tow truck. And we got a few people who are going to be doing that. It's going to be 4 to 8 p.m. here in Redwood City. And then on the parade, if you are a part of it or want to be a part of it, let me know. It's going to be like 8:45 a.m. till about 1 p.m. I decided I'm going to be Captain Jack Sparrow. I've made that decision. So if anybody else wants to be a part, let me know. We're looking for iconic movie characters. But I'll just keep the floor open for a few minutes if anybody has any comments or questions or even like feedback from the session today.
Tony, quick question.
No, that was amazing. That's all I was saying.
Wasn't that good? Yeah, he's great. Please follow him,
so cool.
comment, say hi. Good guy. Go ahead, Olga.
Yeah, for the 3rd of this week,
yes.
for 4 p.m. Is it the same location, or would you send an invite to everyone?
I will. I'll send an invite. Yep, same location at the tow truck place. Yep. Perfect. Thanks, Olga.
Yeah. Exciting.
Anybody else?
I printed just two to test it out. I took the flyer you made for Peanut Butter Falcon and Dashiell's film
Uh-huh.
and just printed them on 4x6. I'm gonna go pick them up. Just
Beautiful.
like matte photo paper, tried to do it Walgreens, super cheap. If they look good, I'll print some more and I'll bring you some.
Great.
I don't know if you have anything else you're passing out like that
Yeah,
to.
that'll be great. Yeah, and in the next, 10 days,
Okay.
just we'll be flagging down everything on Broadway and hanging up things and just talking it up a storm. So yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for doing that. That's great.
I do have a, sorry, go ahead, Malika.
I just had a quick question because I emailed you about if you wanted me to send you the promotional videos that we shot, or if you want me to keep sending them or send them to like BraveMaker or something else, and you just were like, great.
Oh,
So
sorry.
easiest for you because I know you're so overwhelmed. I was like,
Instagram, the way you did it before is great.
okay,
Yeah, that's probably better. I think you sent one email because it was too big for Instagram,
yeah,
and then I just it makes me I have to go to my email to download it. But but
yeah,
but yeah, that's fine. Keep it to me because I don't really have a social media person right now who's organizing things. So that I'll do it.
okay, perfect. And then they're all already edited. Do you want me to send them to you one at a time? That would be easier for you to stay organized, huh?
If they're all done and you want to put them all at the same time, that's great. Yeah, because I can put them up and schedule them too.
Oh, okay. I'll send them all to you today then.
Thank
Cool.
you for
Thank
doing
you.
that. That's exciting. I won't be at home for the parade. And thank you so much for everything. I can help after the 8th. Awesome, Dashel. And I was thinking, I was wondering if you were around. I was going to hit you up. I was wondering what kind of character you'd want to be, Dashel. I was trying to be for originally I was going to try to be someone from How to Train Your Dragon, and I was trying to buy a huge like cutout of Toothless the dragon, but it was too expensive. So I was like, I'm just going to go cheap. All right. Anybody else have a question, comment?
Just
I have Hiccup, by the way. I have the cutout.
You have the Hiccup costume?
No, the cutout. The
Do you really?
I
What?
do, yeah. Yeah.
That is
So
wild and random. I wish I knew that. That's cool. Maybe next year.
I once went as Hiccup for Halloween one time with the peg leg.
Well, there you go. That's awesome. I love it.
um so I want to get a little plan for Monday morning too for Dashiell and you, because aren't you helping Dashiell with the doc?
I need to talk to Kristen about that. Yes. But yes, we should let's follow up because are you still you're not in Italy anymore, Dashel, right? No, okay. I'll message your mom about that.
And the other thing is I thought, and just so you know, and when you message Kristen, and I messaged Dashiell about this too, I was thinking of seeing if they wanted to spend time with Zach and Shelly on Saturday, you know, so that they're not just following Dave around too, so they can have some,
Yeah.
2 hour time with them
No,
if
that's
they're
great.
interested. So just let Kristen know that's open too.
Okay,
I don't
great.
think I have her email. I might have to look.
One
Or
of the
you
things I'm trying to nail. I wanted to do it by the end of last week, but just get like a general schedule for our VIPs so they know like every single day they obviously have things they're doing. Like I talked with Dave on the phone and verbally walked through it, but I still owe him the email to say you're doing this panel, then that, then you have this. So we could do that same thing for Zach. That would be great. And say for Dashiell, like we encourage you to have lunch here or whatever. Let's
right.
get that going so they have an outline overview.
Yeah, I kind of did one for Dave and sent it to him yesterday. Just
Okay.
what
Send
I
that to me too, because I have a Google Doc for all of the people that I'm working on that I'll then cut and paste and send them in their emails, but just so I have it all in one place
yeah,
for
I'll send it to you. It has some just questions for him about like, but you can ignore that stuff. It's just in notes in
sure.
my thing,
Sure,
so I'll
sure,
just
sure.
forward you that.
That's great. Cool. Anybody else? Anything?
Love today's guest.
Mhm.
Social media. Me and Jacob were at the call yesterday, the 2 hour one.
Oh,
So
good.
we shared a little bit there. I'm still waiting to see like who's signing up for what or what's the easiest way to get people to sign up for the blocks for the red carpet stuff. Um,
When you say what's the easiest way, do you mean like for their schedule, them volunteering to do something, or what do you mean?
Yeah, so like say for example Connor, I already like sent him last week like hey, here's the Google Doc. If you could please yeah, put in where you're able to go. like if we're hoping to prioritize the film blocks, but also like whatever
Mhm.
you can do it. They have yet to do it, but I know we have like a week or so. But yeah, I guess just
So you're waiting on people. Yeah, I
yeah, or just
why
start
don't you
scheduling.
start plugging people, why don't you plug people's names in and just say, "Hey, I've plugged you in. What do you think about
Okay,
this?" And then go
okay,
from there. Because if you're waiting on them, we're all busy, things
yeah,
are flying around. I would just say, take some initiative. Boom, boom, boom. Here's what I put. If you want to change it,
okay,
let me know as soon as possible.
okay.
And then
Because
when
there
we
were
have a
some names on it, but yeah, I didn't know where if I
And I
could
put
add
some
more
names
people.
on it based on what I've talked to people. Like I know there's some Cody is on there because that's when Cody told me Cody was available. But Cody will also need some direction too. But just getting names on there, and then we have our meeting on
Mhm.
Tuesday tomorrow, and then our meeting on Tuesday next week. We can continue to solidify and over communicate
Okay,
so people know what to bring, where to show up, what their expectations are, all that kind of stuff, and how they'll deliver the footage.
okay, cool. And then I'll be there. I think I could come for the float building, and then I could be
Dope.
Selena. I was gonna do like a basic outfit. She's like, "Oop, oop, oop, no, clear." Anyways, it's basically like the skirt, jeans, and like
Great.
cowgirl
I
boots,
love it. Okay,
and
cool.
I could do signs too, because people we hold the signs.
Yes, bring
So
a sign, make it connected to Selena in some way. That would be fantastic. And then we'll add a
okay.
Selena song or two to the playlist that we blast.
Yes,
Yes, love that.
please.
Okay,
Okay.
good. What about you, Jacob? Are you in?
Oh, I'm in. I'll be there at the parade.
Who are you gonna be?
Uh, I'm still figuring that out. We're we're debating a couple of different characters.
Okay. All right, cool. Well,
Once I
let
have
me
one
know. Let me know.
solidified, I
Great.
will. I will.
Awesome. Bye, Dashel. See you, see you. All right. Anybody else got it? Oh my gosh, the adrenaline, the excitement, we're growing, things are happening. Ah,
So cool.
okay.
Great.
Well,
Welcome, Mastermind. Very